Hey, it's me, Ashley, Keller Williams Real Estate. All right, so we're going to continue on with Backdoor Revolution. You know what? Like this chapter here on design principles, I think, like, you know, it's like a little bit weird. Like, I feel like every chapter is good, okay? But this chapter was really good, okay? There were some, like, really critical things that I heard in this chapter that really, like, put together the ADU, I don't know, issue or trend in my mind. I was kind of like, okay, I see it more clearly now. More clarity, okay, right? Like, that's really, really important. And one of the things that I heard that was really, really important is that, you know, I often people ask me like, hey, well, what's the difference between like an ADU and a duplex, or, you know, an ADU and a triplex, right? And the real difference is that ADUs are size restricted, okay? Because they are a type of infill housing, all right? So basically the idea is, you know, and why this would be promoted and, you know, incentivized by local municipalities and stuff like that is because basically they're taking, you know, you're going to build one in your backyard, or you're going to build it in your basement, right? You're basically taking existing housing and you're adding to it, okay? Now, it may functionally like kind of be like a duplex, but you have to remember duplexes, I mean, if you go and permit one in, you know, here, like in the city of Everett, for example, I mean, a duplex could be any size. It could be 3,000 square feet on each side. You cannot do that with an ADU. You know, as it's written right now, it cannot be like that. All right. So you have to remember that because it's kind of like this type of infill housing, because it has side restrictions, it would be really good to look into some tiny house principles. And he really goes into that here. You know, he talks about how a lot of times with these smaller spaces, you want to kind of combine spaces. So you're going to have more, you know, more often than not, it's probably going to have, the living spaces are going to have more of an open concept feel, right? Because, you know, if you're only working with like 400 or 500 square feet, right? You know, it's just too much to like wall off every single room, right? Because I mean, at a minimum, you're going to want like some kind of living space. You're going to want a kitchen, bathroom, a bedroom, right? So you have like these 4 spaces already, right? And so I think one of the tips that he said is like, you know, a lot of people, what they do is they really combine living spaces. And, you know, in a lot of ways, you know, some of the spaces are kind of do like double duty, right? So I think that's important to remember when you design your ADU. The other thing that really helps, and this helps even in just regular houses, is having taller ceilings. Taller ceilings, you know, kind of allow for some spaciousness. And it makes the space feel a lot bigger without necessarily adding the square footage. Okay, so it's great. Like here you had an ADU with like 10-foot ceilings. I mean, in the photograph, it looks amazing. You know, so, I mean, I think that that's something really to consider. The other things that you can do are, you know, adding more windows and having a lot of natural light. So, you know, and I think that consideration is just going to really kind of come down to like, well, where do you live? What's the climate like? You know, adding skylights is also nice, right? Like that's a kind of window. And, you know, having those unique features will, you know, I think really help the space feel good. You know, you don't feel kind of cramped in. I know that there was some construction that was done probably in the, I want to say like 60s or 70s, where they have like these lower ceilings, and you know, it just, the space feels cramped. And you know, when you go into, you know, it's kind of funny, it was probably because they had like some kind of construction material shortage or something like that, and maybe they were just like milling things to like a standard height. But you know, you go into some of the older homes, you know, they probably have like, it's probably like a 7 or 8 foot ceiling, and it just feels a lot better than, you know, like a 6.5 foot or whatever, you know? So, you know, it really does make the difference. A couple of things that he mentioned are, a lot of times people don't have like huge, luxuriously sized bedrooms, right? Like, so some people, what they'll do to kind of solve the space problem is they'll have like a lofted bedroom, right? So that may be something that you consider doing, or you might say, hey, you know what, in my municipality, the ADU that I'm going to design allows me to go up to 1,000 square feet or whatever. And you're just going to do a standard size bedroom. I mean, because here's the thing, 1,000 square feet is like pretty generous. If you're going to do a 1,000 square foot 2-bedroom house, 2-bedroom, 2-bath even, you could do decent sized bedrooms. It's only when you're kind of doing like those garage conversions where the garage is like, a 2-car garage and it's, maybe 400 or 500 square feet. It's when you have to start getting creative about like, what are we going to do with spaces, right? Another neat thing that he talked about was like having, and I think we've seen these even in regular houses, but having like a moving island in the kitchen. So you can put those on like casters, like on little wheels, and you can move them around. And, it's nice. It's nice. That's a nice thing to add. Another really cool thing is, having access to like backyard space. And, like there's kind of like a little bit of like there's like a principle of flow. Like how does the space flow into the yard? Like, does it feel like congested? Does it feel nice and open? And so you can kind of get like, depending on how you make that look, you can kind of like the illusion of space. And sometimes that's all you need is the illusion of space, and it'll make it feel more open. The other thing to remember, kind of related, not related to that, is that you may need alternative storage spaces, right? Because if you're going to convert your garage, you might need a space to store your materials, your items long term. And so you may consider building like some kind of shed or something like that so that you actually have storage space, right? I'm just kind of flipping through the pages and seeing if I recall anything else that kind of like jumped out to me. Oh yeah. The other thing to remember is because the spaces are small, you may have some like combined spaces, right? So like if you have a lofted bedroom, right, and it's, for all intents and purposes, it's open to the living space, right? You may like, really like kind of consider, who will live there, right? Like, is it just going to be one person, right? Because, all those spaces being open means that you have quite a, like way less privacy, right? Like, maybe the only thing that has a door on it is the bathroom, right? So, you're going to have way less privacy. And so that is something to consider. Like, is it just for yourself? Do you have a small, do you have a small family? Like, like who else is with you in the place? Who else is planning to live there? Because even, even people that have a partner, it's like, you might not want everything completely open, right? Like you want to take a phone call or something like that. And so that creates some challenges. Yeah. The one thing that did come up, and I think, you would just have to check with your local municipality on their rules and stuff, but you have to remember that when you do like some of those basement conversions, you may need to bring some things up to code, which include like firewalls and fire protection and all that stuff. I remember when we were looking at the plans on our ADU, there was like they wanted like maybe fire sprinklers, like there's like some different things that they may require in order for you to be up to code and make sure that everybody is safe, right? It's the same thing as like the egress windows and all that stuff, right? So, yes, I mean, that's it. That's chapter 5. Chapter 5. I thought it was really good. I think there was a really really good information in that one. And, the chapter was so good. It was kind of like, he wrote it in this way. It was like almost like every bullet point was important. I mean, so, I may have missed something. So definitely, grab yourself a copy of the book if you're like really serious about building an ADU and just see how it would work for you. I do think that, ADUs are just going to become more popular, right? We're in the middle of like a housing crisis right now. We don't have enough housing units. And I think that ADUs are just one piece of the puzzle, right? Like, I'm not sure how many ADUs we're going to build in this cycle, but it does seem like it's possible to add, I think we could make a significant dent in it. I mean, like, how many backyards could use an extra unit? How many people's basements could be converted? I mean, there's tons. So that is the video. Please like, subscribe. If you have questions, please leave them down below in the comments. And stay tuned for the next video. The next chapter is income models, okay? Income models. So it has to do with, like, you know, do you rent it out, et cetera, and then what does that look like? So I'm excited to continue sharing. I will see you on the next one.